For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No! 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney+, Hulu, ESPN+, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
We are making the virtual HBCU experience available wherever you live through Stillman Online. We offer online degrees in business, criminal justice, psychology, and religion. Stillman also offers technology badges in cybersecurity and data analytics. You can participate in all student activities, fraternities and sororities, internships, graduation ceremonies, and much more. Apply for admission today at stillman.edu. Stillman College, where we prepare you for a different world.
But my beats, they are hard. But my beats, they are hard.
All right, hello, and welcome to another edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. I'm Bryan Fulford. That's AD Drew. AD, happy Selection Sunday to you, my brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Bittersweet weekend for me. It's this weekend's now becomes these first couple weeks in March become bittersweet for me. But thank God I've got a lot of basketball to take it off of my mind.
Yes, yeah. I understand. When you said that, it took a second. I had to do some recollection. So yeah, hopefully the distractions of basketball and sports and other things like that can kind of take things off your mind. I was looking at your setup and I couldn't tell whether your camera was crooked or whether
No, it was my
things were
picture
falling
was
off the
crooked
wall.
behind me.
The things on
Yeah,
the
everything
wall
was
were
crooked
falling off.
behind me. Yeah.
So you don't have those issues when you have a clear white wall behind you. I mean, that's just done by laziness, by the fact that I haven't put up any nice background stuff yet. So that's on you, or on me, I should say. Uh, yeah. So Selection Sunday is here. We got a lot to go and review.
Oh
Big
boy, do
weekend
we.
at HBC. Yeah, big weekend in HBCU basketball, men and women's. Storylines galore all over the place. Division One, Division Two, NAIA. All of the action happening this weekend or this past week since we were last on the air. And then, of course, we've got the March Madness, the actual bracket. This is what I remember these days of just tuning in at 6 p.m. on CBS and getting out my bracket. And the fact that they were going to publish this later meant nothing to me because I had to actually have a tape recorder and I'd put in the VCR, or at some point when I moved to
Did you just say
what
VCR?
was it? I did. Until I got to the point of being grown enough to have a video recorder or a TiVo type system, I had a tape deck, a tape recorder. So I put in the VHS to record because I wanted to be, because look, it's hard to write down these schools. You have to have good abbreviations. That's one thing my dad taught me is the abbreviations of schools. So at that time, I think it was James Brown or whoever it was reading the names. You'd have to quickly have your bracket set up and you would have to abbreviate because there was no printing of the bracket like 1 hour after the show. You had to wait until the newspaper came out the next day before you could
Yes.
get a bracket, make copies, blow it up, analyze. You had to buy 2 copies because 1 copy you were going to cut up, and the other copy you were going to use to analyze the brackets. And so
Well,
I
Brian,
would go to.
if you went to newspaper market like I did, they always put the blank bracket out Sunday to let you fill it out. And then Monday they had the printed bracket. So I always ripped the blank one out of the paper on Sunday. And then on, Monday made sure I bought my granddad used to have the newspaper delivered. That's when you used to go outside and have the big yellow
Yes.
bag with the newspaper
Yes.
out there. You had to go when I left for
Mhm.
school in the morning, I would toss the paper to the front porch.
Yeah, no. I couldn't mess up Dad's paper. I wasn't gonna take Dad's paper to school. I wasn't gonna be that dumb. So I had to make sure that I wrote down whatever I wrote down that evening, and then because there was no, maybe I could catch on ESPN the replay of what was happening, but I don't know. It's just a different time and space when you kind of break down things. So needless to say, as I've gotten older and they've sort of spaced out these brackets because they used to just go through the brackets and then talk about it. Then they started giving
It
you
was a
just the
30-minute
number.
show, Brian. They had no
It was
choice.
a 30-minute. Yes, it was a 30-minute show. Now it's like they moved it to an hour. I remember when ESPN used to have their show at the same time, and so as CBS would drop their uh, bracket, ESPN had it almost like 20 seconds later. And I always felt like the commentators on ESPN were better basketball knowledge guys. So that's what I tuned into. And then of course, ESPN or CBS decided to expand the show just to slow ESPN down, and ESPN was like, "Bump it. We'll just come on an hour after. It doesn't matter, and we'll talk about
Yeah,
the brackets.
we just do our analysis afterwards.
We'll do our analysis afterwards." So that's kind of how that all happened after the fact. So, needless to say, I've definitely um, enjoyed Selection Sunday. So we'll talk about that coming up a little bit later in the show as we kind of break down our analysis. We'll tell you about a fun contest that we are doing with our show. And at the bottom of the first hour, we're going to talk to the head coach, a good friend of the program, uh, Langston University head men's basketball coach Chris Wright. We've been tracking the success of Chris Wright teams for about what now? About 3 years now, Drew?
Yeah. Hey, Bryan, you think Chris Wright can hook a brother up with a loan?
Hey, look, it's good to be Chris Wright right now. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Loan, a job. Loan, how about a job? I mean, as much success as he's having.
That requires actually putting in work, man. I just need somebody so I can invest in it. You know what I'm saying?
I have no problem. Look, imagine if you could invest in coachings. If you could invest in coaches, that's the next thing coming. Where you can invest in coaches. That's the next thing coming in sports, Drew. I'm telling you now. I'm calling it. You can invest in coaches, and the capital, and you can put money on coaches, and as coaches flourish and they move from one level to the next or one school to the next, your stock rises. When coaches do bad and they drop or get fired or other things like that, guess what? Your stock goes. It'd be a fascinating game to play. I think I may have to, if I said that right then and there, is that a possibility that I can trademark that, Drew? Anybody know trademark laws? I just said that. Somebody might beat me to that. Somebody just beat me to that great idea that I just threw out over the net. All right, so I want to give a shout out to everybody on YouTube and Facebook watching the show. Hit the thumbs up button. Producer Mel, if you were able to put up any of the social media comments so that way we can see them. I'm trying to play around here on my phone and see if I can keep up live time with people's comments and see who is in the chat room, but I don't know if I should do that since I am using my phone as the hotspot to give this kind of great signal that I'm getting. So I don't want to do too many things to screw this up. So all right, good to see some people already in there dropping some comments. So shout out to all of you guys on YouTube and on Facebook. Hit the thumbs up button, please, if you would. So Chris Wright's going to join us at 6:30 Eastern time, bottom of the hour, 5:30 Central. So you guys let people know we're going to talk to Chris Wright. Okay, Drew, story of the weekend. A lot of good stuff happened in the MEAC, SWAC, to a few schools in the NAIA.
I got the lead story, Bryan. I got the lead story.
It better be good. What's the lead story?
The way Valley got robbed in that game. That's not the lead story?
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. That throw is about as far wide and outside as that pitcher threw to which that umpire called a strike on. So that's
that was that Bob Euchre just a bit outside. Mic check 1 2. And I think, Bryan, you just lost your hot spot right there. Hey, Bell, I'll tell you what. If you got a break queued up, let's see if we can go to a quick break and we can get Bryan back in. I'm not sure where he was going with his comments. And I don't have my script in front of me, so we'll be back in just a moment. You're watching and listening to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan, AD, we'll be back in just a moment.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Don't worry, Ma. We'll be there soon.
We? Is this the one?
Well, let's say I found the one who takes me to another level. Always stays calm under pressure. Most importantly, the one that helps me discover the coolest places.
This sounds wonderful.
Come outside, I'll introduce you.
They're here.
Definitely the one.
Introducing the all-new Nissan Frontier.
I'm attorney Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt.
Bryan, you're going to have to leave your comments alone. I got the comments today, man. Don't worry about it. I got the
Welcome
comments.
back. Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. I blame Drew for screwing up the lead. Here I was about to go into the lead story, and then you threw a curveball far and outside. But anyway, the lead story. So welcome back. Good
Just
to be
like
back.
Valley.
Yes. Anyway, the lead story coming back from the weekend, Drew, has to be Jackson State women's basketball being beaten by Southern University on essentially a last-second heave-ho from the top of the key to lose by 1 point. Really in a game that Southern had pretty much. I'm not going to use the word dominated, but they controlled that game by shooting. I'm trying to see if I can find their percentage in terms of their shooting. I know in the first half when I saw that Southern had a lead or was in that ball game, Southern shot really well from that. Don't seem to be able to find the box score right offhand, but just an outstanding game and effort by Southern to knock off Jackson State, Drew. And I feel like on one hand, I can recall the Jackson State losses over the past, 3 to 4 seasons. I mean, you had Southern, you had Prairie View. That had Prairie View in the regular season, Southern now. You had a perfect record last year. The year before was practically perfect except for Alabama State beating them at the first game of the regular season. And then I think the year before, they were practically perfect as well. So, I mean, we're talking, again, 3 losses in 3 seasons. Something to that effect. You Jackson State folks would be better to explain it and brag about it. But the story is about Southern, because Southern went ahead and turned that win into a victory over UAPB, who actually, Drew, funny thing, it was UAPB who was actually running as a 7 seed, knocked off Alabama A&M, who was the 2 seed. Then they knocked off Alabama State, who had been to the SWAC championship game, I believe, the last 2 seasons. And so the 7 seed had found themselves in the championship game. And, you're a case of 2 Cinderellas or 2 storylines that no one was really expecting. I think we all went into the tournament thinking who had the best shot at beating Jackson State. I don't think, you guys be honest. Southern UAPB people, be honest.
You had UAPB probably was 1, Alabama State was
Really?
probably 2, and there's arguments where you could flip those 2 as for number 1 and number 2 for beating
Was
Jackson
UAPB
State.
people, there was some consideration that
Jackson
UAPB
State
thought
people.
UAPB.
Jackson State people were afraid of UAPB.
Okay. Well, that's fair. Then in that case, and I'll take that as word then. So yeah, but then Southern ends up beating UAPB 62-53. So congratulations to Southern. Southern, the 4 seed, advances to the tournament. Their final record, I don't even know if it matters, but what does kind of matter, I think, and we'll talk about it in a second after we talk about the men's bracket. Jackson State will go to the NIT, and they already earned the automatic qualifier going to the NIT, and I'll tell you, Jackson State has a very good chance in the NIT to win a few games, put a run together, and quite possibly, I don't know where they do the Final Four for the NIT, but
I think it's
it
still
would
in
be
Madison Square Garden.
even for the women.
Oh, that is a good question for the women. Not 100% sure for the women.
Okay. So that's a good opportunity for Jackson State. And for Southern will probably go in as a first 4. Because they just started the first 4 on the women's side last year. Howard played in that first 4 role, so Southern will probably go in as a first 4 team. I believe the women's bracket will be released probably about 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock Eastern. So we'll have more on that. The men's bracket, Drew. We sat here last week with Charles Edmond of Alcorn State Sports Radio, and when you get the kind of information that we got, and this is a pro tip, for you guys who like to play and sprinkle a little money and wager, especially with the tournament coming on. Those of you who can in your various states that do allow gambling, pay attention to anytime you hear an interview or an article, especially with the guys who are the play-by-play commentators for these various schools. They are entrenched with this team. They know this team probably better sometimes than a lot of media people. Media people meaning the writers and things of that nature. Charles Edmond told us that the one team that Alcorn was really worried about was Texas Southern. Texas Southern was plus 1,200 to win the tournament. And Drew, unfortunately, I feel foolish that I didn't put a little pizza money on them to go. Drew, go ahead for a second and talk. Tell us some analysis on what you thought there. I want to pick up this phone. Coach Wright is calling, so you must have an issue going on. Go ahead and pick up for me.
Yeah, the big thing with Texas Southern controlled the boards. But with Texas Southern controlling the boards, they were able to beef up against Alcorn and get Alcorn out of their game. They also shot the ball very well against Alcorn. But even with that, Bryan, the run that Texas Southern got on, and we said it right here on the SportsWrap last week, one of these two Texas schools were going to have a first-round upset, be it Prairie View or be it Texas Southern. Prairie View almost pulled off the upset themselves, as they should have beaten Jackson State. So these Texas schools are tournament tested. And I don't know, Bryan, two questions. Why do we still call it the SWAC tournament instead of the Texas Invitational? Number two, since it's the Texas Invitational, can we just go ahead and move it back to Houston? Maybe that'll help out with some of the attendance.
Hey, Houston would be a much better place, I think, than Birmingham.
Just a smaller venue. It doesn't need to be in the Compact Center. They need a smaller venue in Houston. But I think Houston, and considering that they currently play at Bartow Arena, which is the home of the UAB Blazers, why not play at, and I don't know what the name of the arena where the Houston Cougars play at, but I think that might be a small enough arena to house it, where you have that, because the compact is probably too expensive, and it's definitely 18,000. You're not going to get 18,000 at the SWAC championship game. You might not get 18,000. You might not get 8,000 total for all 4 days of the SWAC championship or all 5 days of the SWAC tournament. So, maybe a place like the University of Houston or something along those lines, since you're already taking it to a college campus. And we'll get more on this attendance stuff a little bit later in this conversation, Bryan.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we the eyes of Texas are smiling on everybody, on everybody, because it is so hard when you think about what the Texas schools have done. And, I'm going to try to, just off the top of my head, I did the research, Drew, so back me up here. I think this is now, I think going into it, a Texas school had won 6 of the last 8. So now it's 7 of the last 9 that a Texas school has won the SWAC tournament. A Texas school has won 6 of the last 8 regular seasons prior to or including this year, if I'm not, or the previous 8 years, not this year including. So a Texas school had won 6 of the previous 8. So I mean, it's just so hard, and you know, I feel bad not. We had the analysis here from Charles Edmond, who told us Texas.
You feel bad for yourself, Bryan. Admit it.
I do.
You're mad at yourself. You're not mad at anybody else. Just say it, bro.
I feel
mad.
I'm mad. I'm mad as heck. I'm mad as heck at myself, because boy, what I could do going into this tournament. But that's all right though.
You sound like the guy who did get in at the beginning of Bitcoin. You ain't got nobody to
I do. I feel exactly like that guy. How did I not recognize that Bitcoin was going to take off and I could have got out of it before it crashed? How did I not recognize that? Anyway, that's what it's like over here on this end. Hey, we're going to take a short break. Come back. We're going to talk to Langston University head men's basketball coach Chris Wright. The Langston Lions are heading to Kansas City. It's a place that Coach Wright is very familiar with, and we're gonna see what that means for Langston. So we're gonna step away for a quick break, come back, talk to Coach Chris Wright on the other side. You're watching the BCSN Sports Wrap with Bryan and AD.
For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head and Shoulder Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head and Shoulder Scalp Shield, never not working.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No! 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better.
And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
Our producer back there jamming, Bryan.
Look, I can tell. You know, hey, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and AD here. It's a pleasure to be joined by friend of the program. I feel like we can say that. Coach Chris Wright, head coach of Langston University Lions, of the Sooner Athletic Conference, and the Langston Lions are going to the Kansas City. The final site in the NAIA level, they don't call it necessarily the Sweet 16, but it's the final 16 teams of the 64-field tournament. What, Drew or Coach? What is the technical right term for? I always mess it up.
So I guess it would be the man. That's a great question. I just stick with the Sweet 16.
I do too. I don't want to get anybody contractually in trouble or anything.
He going to the ship. That's all we need to know. He going
Kansas
to the ship
City,
and try to get back and get it done this time. That's all we need to know.
Exactly. For those of you who may not be familiar, Coach, 1 year ago, almost to this day, or almost to this time of the year, Coach was with another school, another program in the NAIA, and he was there. He was at the doorstep, leading them to the national championship game. They finished as the runner-up. This past year, Coach left that school, went to Oklahoma. He went west. And I tell you, they say it's beautiful out west, Coach. How's Langston, Oklahoma treated you over the last several months since the move from Alabama to Oklahoma?
Man, it is, it's been awesome. It's been a huge blessing. I'm from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so now I'm about 3 hours from home. And so, that's been nice. I love Langston, our president. I always tell people I work for the best president in the country. I have a very supportive administration, and so it's worked out really well for us.
Now, Coach, you had spent some times building up the program at your previous stop. Langston was 1-27 a year ago. This year, probably, I don't care what anybody says, and I challenge anybody to find a better turnaround story. And I'm just saying this. I hope that your flowers and reward, and not the rewards, but the recognition of what you and your staff and everybody who's been a part of the turnaround gets the credit for. Because this year you are 31-2. Uh, when you walked into the Langston program, what did you see that told you that you could have this type of year?
For me, I think it started again with just the vision of our president. Dr. Ken Smith, a guy that really, really wants to be excellent in everything that he does. If you look at our university, just the trajectory it's been on over the past decade since he's taken over has been amazing. And so I knew that, that coming here, we would have a chance to be really, really good in year one.
Okay. Drew, go ahead.
I'm going to kind of follow up on Brian's question, but I'm going to ask it a different way, Coach. Having been a former assistant basketball coach myself, having been on the good end and the bad end of the spectrum, how in the hell do you improve by 30 wins in one season, Coach? For somebody who, and the reason I ask that, for somebody who's actually been in those wars, because I've been a part of teams that have all the talent in the world, but just can't get it right due to egos, or if grades catch somebody, or injuries, or whatever the case is. And then I've been on teams that honestly you come in like, well, I'd be happy with a 500 season, and the next thing you know, you're playing for a conference championship because that team has such chemistry and love for each other, and they just, you don't know how they put the ball in the basket, but they put the ball in the basket and they defend when you need them to. So, Coach, once again, how in the hell do you improve by 30 wins in one season?
Well, obviously, that's a great credit to our players and our assistant coaches. My mentor Jim Sy, he has a great saying. He says, I've never seen a jockey carry a horse across the finish line, and so it all started with with how we recruited last summer. We have really talented players that have really bought into being unselfish and just really doing things the right way day in and day out. And so I knew we were going to be really good. If I would not have guessed we'd be 31-2 good. But I'm really proud of our players and our staff. Again, all the credit goes to them. I'm fortunate to be the head coach, right? I get a lot of credit. Those two groups make me look a lot better than I really am.
Definitely, Coach. Definitely. And with all of that, once again, and I'm coming from somebody who's been there in the war. How do you keep these guys humbled and focused on the ultimate prize, which is getting that championship in Kansas City? Because it's easy when you. I think you started off with 17 in a row before you dropped one. If I've got the number right, and I'm going off the top of my head. How do you keep them focused and like not rest on, hey, we don't won 17, nobody could beat us. We just got beat. Then you go and get another streak. How do you maintain that focus amongst these kids, especially with everybody coming to them on social media, and then the people out in the streets and the community giving them their praise and just making their heads swell up where they could barely get into the gym, Coach? How do you handle that?
Yeah, you're right. It is hard trying to keep our guys focused. Like it is any successful team. But for us, it's really about consistency. Like our record doesn't define us. It's our culture. We just require that every single day we're trying to be the best that we can. And if you stack enough good days together, and you have really good players, it's amazing what happens.
All right. My last question before I turn it back over to Brian. And this is an HBCU question. We don't get the respect on the national level, both NAIA and NC2A, when it comes to our programs and the work that we do. And let's be real, most of our HBCUs are underfunded and limited resource institutions. So what does you put having this type of success that at two HBCUs now, this is not counting your success that you had in California before you went to Talladega, but what does this mean as far as just the HBCU brand when it comes to athletics, the success where programs like you, programs like Tougaloo also, who would be there in Kansas City with you, what does that really mean for our brand?
You know, I think it's huge because, you know, as you guys know, I think a lot of times in the HBCU world, news that gets reported is a lot of the bad stuff and not a lot of the good things that go on. And so for us, you know, it's something we talk with our team a lot. You know, we're not just playing for ourselves, right? We are playing for HBCUs across the country. And so, you know, I believe this is my 5th year being able to work, right, in an HBCU. And it's something that really means a lot to me, right? Like, as a white guy, you tell people that sometimes and people kind of look at you funny. But no, like HBCUs absolutely do not get enough credit for, you know, what they do academically for young men and women, and then the really good programs that exist out there athletically. And, you know, I wasn't happy getting a 2 seed. You know, I'm not a guy that, you know, I'm kind of going to speak my mind and be honest about that. I thought in the conference that we play in to go 31-2 and get a 2 seed was ridiculous. And so, you know, again, we talk about it with our guys. Now we just have to go out and win games. And so fortunately, we've been able to do that and put ourselves, you know, 4 games away from a national championship. And so we got to try to go 1-0 4 times.
As valid as your argument is, Coach, you know, I think Tougaloo has just as good of an argument not losing to an NAIA program the entire season, with their only loss being to a Division II program. So I think both of you guys have a valid argument on your seeding there in the tournament. But hey, time to prove it on the court, Coach. Go ahead, Bryan.
Hey, I like the fact that you said that you know, you're not being happy with the 2 seed, but the 2 seed benefited you because it meant you got to be home. It meant you got to host that opening round tournament. Going into the NAIA tournament, you were 14-0 at home, or maybe it was 16-0. I don't know if are they counting those as on the home record? So I mean, is that the 16-0? I think that counts, Drew. So unbeaten.
It counts for us
this year. It counts.
I bet you counts for Coach Wright too.
It's on the website, so I just didn't know if that 16-0 was including the NAIA tournament. I like that. Okay, so unbeaten at home. Talk a little bit about that process because that was big. I mean, I don't know. You know, even though you may be the top seed, every school is not always prepared to handle the responsibility of hosting a multi-team event. Was there ever any doubt, or I mean, you know, was the administration completely behind the process of saying, "Hey, coach, if we get that opportunity, we're gonna host. So no, don't worry about it."
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, I thought, you know, starting with our president, Dr. Smith, and then our AD, athletic director, Danita Rogers, they did a phenomenal job, and, you know, in both administrative teams and putting our tournament together. And so, you know, the feedback that we got was, you know, was really, really good. And the atmosphere that our guys got to play in front of was unbelievable. You know, to be honest, I felt really bad for, you know, for the teams that had to come in and play a true road game in the national tournament. That's tough. But hey, if they're passing out host bids and we're in a position to host, you can bet that we're going to try to do that. It is a huge advantage.
Hey, that's the one thing I
he
will
didn't
say.
Feel too bad. He just saying that. He just saying that right now.
He
felt bad till that ball was tossed up.
Politically correct thing. That's what I love about Coach, because that's why I say that's the one thing, Drew. What did we notice in this tournament? Pretty much all of our schools had to play somebody in their home gym, with the exception of Langston. I believe everybody had to go to somebody's gym and eventually played the 1 seed. I think even tonight.
You just say the whole seed.
And I'm including the host seed, excuse me. Yes, the host seed.
Yeah.
Everybody had to play the host seed except Langston, who was the host. So don't cry. I know you're not crying any tears about that, Coach, but I mean we definitely won't either. I want to talk about some of these young men that now if you can give us a makeup of the roster prior to coming in. I mean, did you have to completely rebuild? Did you have you had players from Langston that were already there? I asked that before I get into talking about the young men who received some of the postseason awards. What was the makeup or rebuild like?
So we only have one player that was on the roster last year here with us now. And so, we got here and it was basically time to recruit a whole new team. And so, again, I love the guys that we were fortunate enough to get. Man, they're great people. Something I don't think gets talked about enough. We had a 3.14 GPA in the fall. And so,
Congratulations.
These guys have, thank you. Really taking advantage of the opportunity that they've had. And so I've been really proud of them.
I'll give you a chance to talk about some of those young men. Tristan Harper was the SAC player of the year, averaging 15.6, 5.9 rebounds, and 1.2 assists per game. You had the defensive player of the year in Cortez Mosley. And then the newcomer year was Harper. And then there were a couple other young men who made the all SAC. Want to make sure I give their name. I think it's Taru Dean and AJ Rainey both received recognition, and there might be some other guys, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about those young men and just kind of what they have meant to this program this season for you.
So Tristan Harper, he was in our league last year at Talladega. He played at Middle Georgia, and the first time we played him, he had 31 on us. We couldn't guard him, and he had a friend that played on our team, Davion Thomas, a transfer from Troy, and so Harp finished his degree and was going to work on his master's, and so it's a lot better having him on your team than trying to figure out a way to stop him. I'll tell you that. And so he is, and his numbers are good, but I think we have 5 guys that average double figures. If you put him a lot of other places around the country, he's averaging 20-something points a game. But I feel like he's really sacrificed a lot of the things that he does for our team's success. You mentioned Cortez Mosley as a guy that was a defensive player of the year in our league. Cortez is a mid-major player, had mid-major offers, and just, didn't qualify academically out of junior college. But he's been tremendous for us. I mean, he does everything. He can guard 1 through 5. He can literally play 1 through 5 on the offensive end. And he does a lot of things that just, I think the average person wouldn't see because it doesn't show up in the stat sheet. I think he's taken 39 charges for us so far this year. And so he really is a, kind of almost like the glue that holds us together.
Yeah, I mean that true. When you have 5 guys in double figures, that's one of those good problems to have. You sacrifice those points because who's the hot man today. It's go figure it out. Good luck for the other team. Drew, go ahead and get in there with the last couple questions here for Coach.
First, I want to give a couple of comments from our chat, the YouTube chat, Coach, to you. Edward Moore says, LU Psychedelic Literature says, congratulations, Langston. Edward Moore says, say it, Coach. I'm that good of a coach. He said he wants you to go ahead and admit it, Coach. One of our followers there, Edward Moore. Tabra T says, that's a major turnaround. Congratulations, Langston. And once again, Psychedelic Literature says, props to the athletes on being such serious students. So yeah, with all that being said, Coach, what is it going to take for you to cut down the nets this year? Let's just get straight to the chase.
Well, I tell you what. First off, the bracket that we're in sure didn't do us any favors. We
Well,
open
you
up
don't
here
have
in January.
Loyola this year. That's a positive.
That is. There's no Miles Burns and Zach Reitzel running around. So, but yeah, hey, so we opened up with Georgetown College. I think they made 32 straight NAIA national tournaments. Chris Briggs, their head coach, is as good as there is. I mean, he's won 2 national titles. We're gonna have our work cut out for us game 1. And so, again, all of our focus has been on that. And then you look down the bracket, if we were to win, it doesn't get a whole lot easier with us playing the winner of Grace, who, in my opinion, could be the best NAIA team in the country, or Freed Hardman, another really good team. And so, for us, we're going to have to defend the way we're capable of. We're going to have to continue to minimize turnovers. And, at the end of the day, I think the toughest team always wins, and we're a team built on toughness. We have good depth. And so, I think we just have to go out and really do what we do at a high level, and we'll be in good shape.
And for those who are interested in following the Langston Lions, they will tip off Tuesday. That's at 1 o'clock Central Time, so that'll be 2 o'clock Eastern as they take on Georgetown of Kentucky. That's a 2 versus 3 matchup. You can go to NAIA.org and click on the link. And it is a paid site, so you have to pay to watch the game. But I think it'll be a good investment for you to go ahead and pay to watch the Langston Lions. And for the other HBCU, they will tip off Monday at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, when Tougaloo takes on St. Thomas out of the Sun Conference. That's a 6 versus 10 matchup. You gonna be over there cheering for Tougaloo, Coach? Because the only way you guys can meet is if y'all are in the championship game. So, I mean, I don't know how much love you guys have, especially considering you're a former conference rival of Tougaloo. So,
hey, I tell you what, they've had a remarkable season. It's been fun to watch, and I do agree with you. I think that their seeding was quite baffling to me as well. And so I've been really happy to see them have the success that they've had. And so it definitely will be fun to follow them this week.
Hey, I got to ask before I let you go, the experience of last year usually helps, usually helps. How did the experience of going through those 4 games last year? Only 2 teams got to play 4 games in Kansas City last year. You were one of them. How does that experience prepare you for this journey?
I hope it does. I think that, again, we were fortunate enough to make it to the national championship game. And so, as a staff, most of us have been here before. We've kind of put our guys through this week and have a good idea as to what works. And so, or what we think works anyways, right? And so I do think it's an advantage. I'm excited. I wish Tuesday would hurry up and get here. I think our guys are ready to hit the court and play again. So it should be an exciting week for us.
All right. Well, I for one am thankful that I'm on spring break this week. If I happen to make my way to the beach, I will be sitting on the beach watching your game, toes up in the sand, watching some basketball in a shaded spot somewhere from 2 to 4 Eastern, Coach. Thank you for coming on. Congratulations on all that you have accomplished this year. It's not done. We know it's not done. I got a feeling it ain't done. So we just gonna sit back and watch you guys do what you do. And congratulations to you, the staff, your family, your coaches' families, the players.
AD Rogers
really
over there.
A.D. Rogers, yeah, shout out to A.D. Rogers, one of the first people to be a big supporter of the Black College Sports Network. So that's why I say we got love for Langston and we got love for you. So it's a great marriage. I knew when they got you, I said, uh-oh. I said, watch out. Langston is coming up, and you guys have proved me right again. So good luck, Coach, man. We're going to be praying for you guys. Safe travels. Best of luck to you. Any final words you want to say before we let you go?
And no, hey, I definitely always appreciate you guys' support, your kindness. One thing I ask is if you're out there on the beach in nice 80-degree weather, at least have a drink for me. It's kind of chilly back here in Kansas City.
You didn't even have to say it, Coach. I got you. I got you. I got you.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, Coach Chris Wright, Langston University, and wow, man, that is awesome, Drew.
Every boy
Is there?
says the HBCU family is with him.
Hey, exactly. Look, and I got to get, I'm glad you mentioned that because, again, Monday, Tougaloo plays St. Thomas. That's a Sun Conference team that Florida Memorial is very familiar with. So that's at 2 o'clock. I'd be shocked if Tougaloo doesn't win that game.
They're around the corner from Florida Memorial, literally.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Tougaloo doesn't win that game. Now, I don't know the seeding. I haven't looked completely at the
I'm looking at the bracket
NAIA
right now.
bracket. So obviously they seed everybody 1 to 16, I'm assuming.
In 4 quads.
Okay, so what? So Langston is what, and this team, Georgetown, Kentucky, is what?
That's a 2-3 matchup, and the winner of that one will be taking on Grace out of Indiana or Freed Hardman out of Tennessee, and that's a 1-5 matchup. Just going by seeding, Bryan.
Hold on a second.
Bryan,
I'm trying to visualize.
This is the second toughest bracket in Kansas City.
I'm trying to understand how they do the brackets in Kansas City, because I would have thought that if Langston is a 2, they would match up against a 15 seed.
No,
that's not the
Bryan.
case, though.
No, you still have your 4 quads. It would it would be like the NC2As with the full regional sites, except they bring the regional sites to one location. You still have 4 quads. So in that quad, you have the 1, the 2, who is Langston, the 3, and the 5 seed still alive. The only quad that is better than that, and that's the dual quad. The listing quad has all 4 of the top seeds remaining. That's the only quad by seeding that is tougher.
Okay. All right. So, man, but hey, there is a potential, Drew, of a dream HBCU national championship between Tougaloo and Langston, correct? Based on the seeding or the brackets.
Correct. Based on the brackets, yes. Wow. They're on 2 opposite sides of the bracket. Langston is in the dual quadrant. Tougaloo is in the Naismith quadrant, which is in the other 32. And they will be playing they will play Monday. Should both of them win, Tougaloo will play at Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and Langston will play Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And those are central times that I just gave you guys. So that'll be 2 and 6 for those of you all on the East Coast.
And the nice thing for those of you who are about to, you're about to soak up the NCAA, and they have these games played in 8 different arenas around the country. The NAIA, when they get to the final 16, they put everybody in one building, and you're playing all these games right there in Kansas City, Missouri, right? Not Kansas City, Kansas.
Kansas City, Missouri, Municipal Auditorium.
Right. So you can get the good barbecue on that side of the river, correct? The good barbecues on that side of the river, Drew.
Very much so. Very much so.
I would love to be able to take whatever time off if we get a Final Four that has Langston and Tougaloo. I would love to take some personal days and go to Kansas City.
Bryan, you won't have to take personal days because you're on spring break, and the Final Four matchup would be Friday, with the championship game being Saturday of this week.
Oh. All right. Enough said. Langston, Tougaloo, let's get it done. I don't know if I can find me a cheap flight on somewhere. I won't fly Spirit, though. I will not fly Spirit. Nope, not doing it. Not doing it.
Southwest had some decent flights last time I checked, though, Bryan. Seriously.
There you go. All right. So, yeah, just to quickly recap the NAIA, of course, as we just mentioned, Langston won both of their games in the opening round, opening region. They were host. Tougaloo won both of their matchups. Tougaloo, interesting enough, matched up initially against an 11 seed and beat them by 10. That was Texas A&M Texarkana. Then they had to play a 14 seed. The defending champs were in their field, Loyola, Louisiana. They lost their opening round, so they ended up playing a 14 seed Sagu out of Texas. We're familiar with them because they are in Langston's conference.
Southwest Assembly of Gods.
Exactly. So they beat Tougaloo beat them 75-62 to advance. Got to give a shout out to Xavier and Coach Williams because as an 8 playing a 9, they won their opening round by a score of 95-57. But
Bryan,
then they had to play.
Remind everybody where their game was at.
Yes, that game was in Caldwell, Idaho, hosted by the College of Idaho, who was the host school and the 1 seed. And that's who Xavier had to play. Unfortunately, they lost 76-61. But, on opening day, we had Xavier, Tougaloo, and Langston, all of the NAIA get a win. Get a dub. Okay, over on the women's side, wasn't so well. 2 of the 3 didn't have a good outing in their opening game. Florida Memorial had to travel to the host school, Marion, Indiana, up in my hometown of Indianapolis. They lost 80-59. Philander Smith had to travel to Park City, Kansas, and take on Montana Western. They lost 79-48. Russ College did get a win, though. Russ College did get a win in the opening round against Faulkner right there in Alabama. They beat them 71-51. But in the second round, they had to play the host school, Campbellsville, Kentucky. Unfortunately, they could not overcome, and they lost 80-65. So congratulations to Rush on getting a win in the tournament. And it's a continual building steps. Coach Jackson, it's like you get there, you don't have a good first round, first outcome, but the trick is to get there the second year in a row, the third year in a row, and that's when
3
you
out of
start
4
stacking,
or something along that line.
3 out of 4. That's when you start stacking wins. That's what we've seen Xavier do with Coach Williams. That's what we've seen Coach Wright do in a couple different stops. He did it especially when he was at Talladega. And so that's what we're hopeful is in store. So again, Tougaloo men and Langston men are still alive. You can catch those games Monday and Tuesday. Let's take
Bryan,
a break, Drew.
Hold on.
What?
Edward Moore says, it has to be tough to beat an Assemblies of Gods. Now let's go to break.
Now let's go to break. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap with Bryan and AD. We'll be back in just a moment.
We are making the virtual HBCU experience available wherever you live through Stillman Online. We offer online degrees in business, criminal justice, psychology, and religion. Stillman also offers technology badges in cybersecurity and data analytics. You can participate in all student activities, fraternities and sororities, internships, graduation ceremonies, and much more. Apply for admission today at stillman.edu. Stillman College, where we prepare you for a different world.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Don't worry, Ma. We'll be there soon.
We? Is this the one?
Well, let's say I found the one who takes me to another level. Always stays calm under pressure. Most importantly, the one that helps me discover the coolest places.
This sounds wonderful.
Come outside, I'll introduce you.
They're here.
Definitely the one.
Introducing the all-new Nissan Frontier.
I'm attorney Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being heard.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and AD here. It just also happened, while it's Selection Sunday, it just also happens to be the night of the Academy Awards, the Oscars. And of course, Drew, it brings up the memories of the slap heard round the world 1 year ago. Did you get a chance to watch Chris Rock's Netflix special, Drew?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
You did. Okay.
Yes.
I have not watched it yet. I don't know why. I gotta watch it, I guess. I gotta sit down and watch it. But would you care to give any kind of take or thought on what you saw? Did you agree, disagree, good play?
Bryan, you ever walked into the barbershop and you just got to sit there and wait a little bit because your barber, everybody wants to go to your barber, so he's got about 4 or 5 ahead of you before you can get your hair cut. I remember that back in the day when I used to be able to get my hair cut, and people just sit around just talking trash and just talking junk and everything like that. And then somebody bring up that one dude that pissed you off. You're in the barbershop and you just let it go. That was the Chris Rock special. He just let it go in the barbershop.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. I've heard some interesting commentary on it, so I gotta check it out. But
and it's all about perspective,
Sure.
Some people, right? Some people said he may have gone over the board with it.
Oh, never.
Some people say that Will deserved it and Jada deserved it. No, I'm not going to put my opinion on that one way or the other. It's a matter of your opinion. Whether you feel like it was deserved or not deserved, man, that stuff was funny.
It's just jokes, right? They just jokes, right?
These are jokes. Some of them jokes is personal, but it was funny.
Yeah. Well, that's the best jokes. Those are the best jokes. The ones that are actually a little personal. Those are the best
Yeah.
jokes. Any comedian will tell you that. I am not a comedian, but I feel like I could be a comedian. I feel like I could be a good comedian if I really studied my craft.
Yeah, I'm breaking out one more time, then we can move off this subject. You ever been around family, Bryan, and that one family member or their cousin or their friend brings up that memory that you just don't want to remember, and you're looking back at it 10 years later, and it's funny, except for the fact that it's about you.
It's about you.
It's about
Yes.
you. Something
Yes.
stupid happened that you did. You may have been drunk, you may have been sober, but whatever it was, it happened and it was about you. And they bring it up, and everybody else in the room is dying laughing.
Dying laughing. Yeah. Yeah.
And you want to laugh at you know it's funny, but you start to get pissed off because it's about you.
That it came up. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you want to whoop that dude's, you know what? That's probably how Will Smith feels about Chris Rock right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this. A year later, I was telling somebody this. I understand when people say that they are triggered by things or someone. I have a new perspective about that. Because I still, whenever I see Will Smith, I still feel some kind of way. I really do. I mean, that's a grown man. I'm a grown man. I'm nowhere near his circle of his life, and I should not give two flips about that man. But whenever I see a project or a movie that he's in, I think about what he did to another black man on national TV, and I really am bothered by that. It really bothers me. And so I have a new appreciation when people say they are triggered by things. Like you get all upset and your stomach gets in a knot and you get real flustered. And yeah, I get it. I get it. And that's just me. I'm say what you guys will out there on in the chat room. But I think it's more so because it was a black man attacking another black man. And anyway, let me not go into that. Let's talk about basketball. Let's talk about basketball because we've got some storylines to talk about. Storylines that happened over in the SWAC in Birmingham. We thought going in that, hey, you got to watch out for the Texas school. You got to watch out for Texas Southern. I will say this, Drew. I'm going to be the bad guy here. Now, Texas Southern, right? Johnny, oh, why can't I think of the coach's name? God, thank you, Jones. I was thinking, I had Taylor, Walker. I had all kinds of Johnnies on my mind. Johnny Walker. I don't know what the hell's going on.
You think about drinking, bro. Johnny Walker. What's in that cup? It's not clear.
Yeah, hey, look. Coach is 26-8 in March, right? I mean, the man is the king of March. He is moving into SWAC legend status. Yes, I said it. He's moving into SWAC legend status. And you historians of the SWAC, say what you will, but what he's done the 3 years, he has continued the tradition. Texas Southern, for the 7th time since 2014 and the 3rd year in a row, they won the SWAC tournament champion. And they've done it also in the regular season as well. And this year was kind of interesting from the standpoint of, they had some injuries. They had some illnesses. I watched them beat good teams. I watched them lose to teams. When Florida A&M beat them, it changed my perspective on Florida A&M and Texas Southern. And then you know what Texas Southern did? They went out and won 3 in a row. Then they lost 3 games in a row to end the regular season. So you were sitting there thinking, who is this team? And so they come into this game, the worst possible matchup that could have happened for Alcorn was running into Texas Southern. And sure enough, they got bit. But then something strange happened because Grambling State was playing the best, I thought, all tournament. Of all 8 teams, they were playing the best. Drew, when remember what my pro tip was about watching the unders and the totals, right? Pretty much it was consistent for everybody but Grambling. The first half of the first game, they scored 47 points, lit the rim on fire shooting. And I'm sitting there like, oh God, there goes the under. Because Grambling is just scoring at will. They scored something like 80-something points, 78 points in the first game, dropped another 70 in the second game. But you know what, Drew? They got, I don't know, maybe I'm nitpicking, but when you saw that they were down 20-5 to start that game, you know what thought came into my head? Damn, Grambling was the 2 seed, having to play the last flipping game on Friday night, had to turn around and play. Now, you could say they played a 5 o'clock game or a 4 o'clock, 4:30 Central Time game. Texas Southern had about 6-7 more hours of rest and probably an easier bracket going through. I don't know. Maybe it mattered for the pace that Grambling plays at. Maybe I'm making excuses for Grambling, so say what you want. But the SWAC, in my opinion, should really think about how they schedule the semifinal games. Now, I know there's an advantage for the 1 seed. Okay, so the 1 seed, Alcorn State would have had a great advantage because on the first night they played at 3 o'clock. Then they wouldn't have played. They would have had they would have had a day off Wednesday, and then they would have had to play, a day off Thursday, and then would have had to play Friday, the early game Friday.
Afternoon game.
3 o'clock. Yes. Afternoon game. Then the championship is on what? Saturday late, 4:30. But because Texas Southern beat Alcorn, they took over that time slot. So guess who had the extra day off?
You can't hold that against Texas Southern.
I'm not holding it against Texas Southern. I'm just saying that the benefit of where I think it mattered was Grambling had to play 3 games in 3 days. That's where I think it mattered. And also what I think is the men, women.
Did Grambling play on? Grambling had the day off also, didn't they?
They played Thursday.
The 1 and 2 seeds.
They played Thursday.
I thought the 1 and the 2 seeds played.
Who's got the schedule? Somebody tell me because hold on, I got the bracket right here. This is great podcasting and radio here. Somebody
they played on Wednesday.
Oh, they did. So Grambling had to break too?
That's the women's bracket I'm looking at. I'm sorry. Give me a second.
Yeah, I'm looking at the men's bracket here. Let me make sure I'm speaking correctly here. Grambling played. They played Wednesday. Yeah, they played the first game Wednesday. They played the first game, didn't have to break. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that advantage was the same.
It was the advantage. Okay, so I guess what I'm just referring to is the Friday night where they had to play the second game, which is the 8:30 game, and then have to turn around. So, maybe it's. Originally I thought it was them having to play 3 games in 3 days, but it wasn't that case. But I still think though, while the MEAC plays 2 women's game and then 2 men's game, the SWAC playing the alternating games, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. What is your take on just the scheduling of these games? Now that we've seen this tournament play out, what's your thought on the scheduling of the SWAC, the way they did theirs versus the way the MEAC did theirs?
Well, there's good and bad to it. If you are a fan of a particular institution, you've got a better chance of seeing both your institutions in the same time slot of the day, afternoon slot or evening slot, with the alternating bracket. men, women. Versus if you are, and I believe that happened with Grambling with their men and their women playing back to back on Wednesday afternoon. If I have my if I have that correct, but from a competitive point, you would want those games to be as close together time wise. So you would want that BAC schedule with the men's pod in the morning and the women's pod in the afternoon. The thing that I did not like, both with the BAC and going back to the CIAA tournament, is the fact that you had your men's semifinal on Friday night. And then, because of TV, you played your men's championship game as the early game on Saturday. So, knowing that, and let's be real, your Monday game, which is the game that you're playing on TV, was your early game. From a competitive point, you may have wanted to flip-flop the brackets as early as Friday to have that men's game be the early pod on Friday, so that your men would have as close to a 24-hour period before the championship game, your marquee game on national television on Saturday. And then the same thing with the women, they would have been on that same approximately 22 to 24-hour break. That would have been the SWAC thing, and the BAC and the CIAA both ran into that problem because I'm assuming because of their TV contracts and people not foreshadowing. Now, I understand you tend to want your men's game to be the evening game because, quote unquote, that's when the people will be there.
That's your draw.
But
your bigger draw.
Yeah, that's your draw. But we've got to do some thinking, and maybe I don't know if any coaches said anything and they were just ignored, or maybe the coaches need to speak louder
Robert Jones
on
of
that
Norfolk
particular
State
issue.
said something. Robert Jones of Norfolk State had some words about that.
And for those who haven't been in that situation, a normal game day when you're on the road, and that's what you have to treat these tournament games like road games. If you're there the day before, you're going to be in the hotel. You're going to get up that next morning. You're going to do your breakfast. You're going to go to shoot around for an hour. Then you're going to go back to the hotel and get off your feet. Probably have some food delivered because the coaches want to have you stay off of your feet, so they tend to have food delivered to the hotel. And then you go to the gym to play ball. You get to the gym about an hour and a half early to allow you hour and a half to 2 hours early so you can go get taped, do whatever you need to do, and start going through your mental preparation along with physical preparation to get ready for the game. Maybe about 45 minutes or so before tip-off, 45, 50 minutes before tip-off, you go down to the locker room. You begin to get dressed and get ready for the game. You go out. 30 minutes before the game is when you go out and hit the floor, go through your pregame routine, and get the juices flowing. And it's all about routine and rhythm. Well, when you play that late game on a Friday night or any night, and then have to turn around and play an afternoon game the next day, it throws that pattern off that you have established throughout the season. Your morning shoot around is probably gone. What's the importance of morning shoot around besides getting up shots, Bryan? Normally, coaches may take about 15, 20 minutes of that morning shoot around and do a walkthrough. Okay, number 32. Remember, this is how we're going to play this on defense. This is how we're going to defend this. Okay, this is how they like to defend certain things. So this is the adjustment that we're going to make on offense when we see this defense. Maybe go over a blob play or a slide play. That's baseline out of bounds and sideline out of bounds. For those who don't understand basketball lingo, and you may go through a special situation play. if we got the ball with 3 seconds left, this is what we're going to run if we got to go to the length of the court. Just as a kind of refresher. And you quickly go over those type things, get some shots up, get some free throws up, get used to the rims, things things like that to get you ready for the game. That whole routine is gone. Now you have to rely on mental preparation, film study in somebody's hotel room, game notes in somebody's, going over the game plan in somebody's hotel room or in the lobby of the hotel. Just that little slight alteration of the routine may be the difference between the team winning and losing.
And again, this is all for a one-bid league. One team is going to the tournament. So again, by Jackson State women, by Alcorn, by Grambling, top tier teams. Speaking of Robert Jones, head coach of Norfolk, he was very adamant. He played the second men's session on Friday night, a game against North Carolina Central. I believe that went to overtime. And they, from what I read, is that game didn't finish until about 11 o'clock, and they had to play a 1 p.m. game. And like you said, Drew, I mean, Friday night, your big draw for Norfolk Scope is what? The men's games. Yeah. But look, I know we're selling out a bit for television. I understand the contracts. But at some point, and this is why, again, now I'm going to get on another soapbox here, Drew. This is why I keep saying what I'm saying, and I'm going to say it until it becomes heard by more people. If you're in a one bid league, I still scratch my head saying, why do you play a full conference schedule? You play everybody twice. The SWAC, not so much everybody twice, but the SWAC could.
A modified round robin with SWAC.
You could SWAC because the Big Ten does it. They play a 20-game regular season. The SWAC could. I'm just saying. But they play in 18 games, a modified round robin. In the MEAC, you play everybody twice. But you play everybody twice, some people once, and then that's poof. It means nothing. Great, you won a regular season title. You run an automatic bid to the NIT. Alcorn State going to the NIT. Congratulations. Even though you got knocked out in the first round, you won the regular season title with Grambling. Unfortunately, Grambling, from all there are NIT bracketologists, Drew. From the 2 or 3 bracketology sites that I saw regarding the NIT, Grambling State may end up missing out on the NIT, and they actually were a higher rated team according to RPI and net numbers than Alcorn State. Grambling may miss out on the NIT. That bracket comes out tonight at 10, I believe. But I don't. Back to my main point was playing for, if you're a regular season team and sort of either stacking the bracket in a certain way that makes it advantageous to your top 10 team, there has to be a reward for playing. It has to be more than just a time slot. There has to be a reward when you are the one in what?
I like it so. But
hold on,
would you consider? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, go ahead. No, not really. But go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish your thought. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were done.
Yeah, no. I just was getting to the main point about when you are you're a one bid league. The objective is to send your best team to the NCAA tournament. I had people tell me that the SWAC has never had an issue with this until guess what year? This year, where your 8 seed is going to the tournament. Now, this is a particularly different kind of 8 seed because this is Texas Southern. This is your crown jewel who kind of limped into the tournament, but guess what?
Your flagship basketball program. Just say it.
Your flagship basketball program was the 8 seed, and they limped into the tournament, and then guess what they ended up doing? Getting hot, which is the biggest fear because usually the 8 seeds don't do what Texas Southern did. They don't. They usually bow out in the first round. Maybe they get lucky and win a first round game, but they're chum for the 1 seed usually. Okay, but the idea is to send your best to the tournament so that what you can win a game or two, and then potentially bring money back to your league. I mean, that should be the purpose. Now, this year, just so happened to MEAC Howard. Howard has a very good team. They won the regular season, but they were the third favorite on the board. Cha-ching, plus 300. Howard was the third favorite behind North Carolina Central and Norfolk State. They ended up winning. But had they not won, they would have ended up in the NIT. They're going dancing. And they don't have to play in the first 4 game from what I'm told, right? From what I've seen.
Correct.
Because of the
Correct.
MEAC's rating. Okay, but guess Texas Southern, hey, if Grant, regardless of who came out the SWAC, because the SWAC's rating is so poor, whoever came out of it, even if it was Grambling, they were going to the first 4. So it didn't matter. But I'm just I don't know, Drew. I've seen it more times than not. I feel like I've seen it more, and this is one of those over exaggeration things. Maybe that I feel like is in my head about mid majors is that I want to see mid majors take out some of these last
Blue
4.
blood.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there are 6, 7, and 8 seeds from Big Ten, ACC, Pac-12. These teams suck. I mean, honestly, they are not very good. They're not very good, and they're going to get kicked to sleep in the opening round if they were playing a good mid-major. I'm telling you that. But anyway, this tournament again is not about the little guys. This is about the big schools. So I'm done with my rant. What were you going to say, Drew? Because I'm done with my rants.
Brian, one of the beauties of the SWAC tournament, because only 8 of the 12 teams get to go. Used to be 8 of the 10 with Florida A&M and Bethune coming in. Now it's 8 of the 12.
That part I do like. I do like that.
That you get rid of the garbage first round game. Because let's go to the SWAC and women. Okay, we know Jackson State 18-1 on the regular season. But let's go to everybody else.
No, don't do it.
From Southern, well, you had a 2-game difference between second place and 7th place, Brian. Your second place team was 12-6.
Mm-hmm.
Your team, who was 7th, was 10-8.
Mm-hmm.
Those were not upsets by record. They were upsets by seed. But they're not upsets by record. And if you add in number 8, Brian, there was only a 3-game difference from the 2nd seed to the 8th seed. So I don't know if you want to call it parity, if you want to call it competitiveness, or what. That was one of the beautiful things of the SWAC tournament. As much as I like seeing the early round upsets in the CIAA and the SIAC with the double buys and everything like that, I would much rather see those conferences go to something like this. Get rid of that garbage and let everybody play. Everybody coming in. Everybody, you got to win 3. No, not that Benedict. You got to win 5 and 7 days or whatever the heck they had to do in order to win. No, let's get rid of all that. Top 8, play it out. Brings even more importance to the regular season, Brian. More importance.
More. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Good point. Good point. Hey, if we want to even be so bold, hey, let's juice it up. Let's do blind draw. Let's go into the tournament. Let's do blind draw.
Brian.
I know. Hey, one other thing we wanted to talk about, Drew. We talked about before we get out of this, the attendance at these tournament sites. Well, I'll tell you what. I thought the MEAC was fortunate. At the Scope Arena, the MEAC, you had
The
you had
MEAC was
the
fortunate
best possible
because the quote unquote host
championship
team
game.
or the local
Right.
team
Norfolk State.
made it to championship Saturday. The
Right.
local teams made it to championship Saturday.
Right. And Howard,
SWAC's
exactly.
problem?
And Howard is probably the next best or good draw, especially given the fact that they haven't, especially for the men, they haven't done what they did in
I
almost
mean,
30 years.
they had the perfect matchup. Howard and Norfolk.
They did.
In the BA.
Doubleheader.
Trilogy. And then you had the tabs too.
And you know that was the first time that happened in the MEAC. Did you know that? Of all the history stuff that I pointed out in my little story, the one historic fact that I didn't mention was the fact that that was the first time in the MEAC where you had the same program in the women's championship playing in the men's championship. It was the first time that happened.
I thought you did mention that.
No, what I was mentioning was the fact that no one since 2011 had won the men and women's championship. That was what was at stake, and of course, it didn't happen because Norfolk State women's won, and then Howard's men won. So I mean, that streak still holds. But yeah.
Hey Bryan, you can always go and edit it, and nobody will know next year when they go and look for that article.
I'll remember right back to that article next year.
Yeah.
But go back to where you were with that tennis, yeah.
But the problem is, especially with the tournament being in Birmingham, once the Alabama schools were done, Bryan, so were the fans.
I'm gonna say this, and I hate if I'm gonna apologize if I ruffle a few feathers, but after watching 2 years now, do Alabama residents outside of Hornets and Bulldogs, do they care about the rest of the SWAC? I mean, be honest, because the attendance numbers would seem to say not so much. Regardless of the good brand of ball, the good teams that are coming in, the excitement that the conference tries to put in place there in Birmingham. I haven't
Alabama A&M will outdraw Alabama A&M at Jackson State.
Well, and see, here's the thing, though. I guess Birmingham,
Alabama State would outdraw Alabama State and Southern.
What is the distance? What is the time distance to get
from
to?
Where?
I don't know. I mean, let me see. You're in Birmingham,
both
Alabama.
Both of those are 2 hours, under 2 hours.
But 2 hours from what? Like how far is it from Louisiana, Southern, Grambling, Jackson?
Jackson State is going to be your next closest program to Birmingham outside the 2 Alabama schools.
Jackson,
and
Mississippi.
That's about a 4-hour ride from Birmingham to Jackson. And then you can play off everything. You're probably talking about 5 hours.
Louisiana.
You're probably talking 5 hours from Alcorn or so, about 5
it's
and
not
a half
ideal.
hours. Valley is probably right at about 4 hours. No, Valley's probably just under 4 hours from where they are at. So the Mississippi schools aren't that bad. It's once you get beyond the Mississippi schools is where you run into it's not, Bryan, what you have to realize, especially for these tournaments, it's not about the distance from the schools, Bryan. When people get their degree, they don't live in those towns anymore. Nobody lives in Grambling who graduated from Grambling unless you work for Grambling. Nobody lives in Lawrence, Mississippi who graduated from Alcorn unless you work for Alcorn. Let's be real, Bryan.
Don't get in trouble, Drew. Go ahead.
When you get these degrees, a majority of these people are going to move to population centers: Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago, DC, New York, places like that, New Orleans. Birmingham is not one of those destination cities, Bryan.
Okay, so on championship Saturday,
I can list 10 schools. I can list 10 cities where HBCUs, no matter what HBCU you graduated from, people will migrate to those cities. I can list at least 10 cities before I even think about listening to Birmingham.
Okay, so let me ask this: the
That's your
championship
problem.
Saturday for the SWAC, championship Saturday, the attendance, and we looked this up. The women's game drew 15% of the capacity of Bartow Arena. Bartow, and this I'm reading. This was according to the box score on ESPN. 15% was about 1,400 of the 8,500 seat capacity. The men's game drew 17% of capacity. Now, I didn't find the numbers for the MEAC in the scope. So if anybody out there knows the attendance numbers for Championship Saturday from the scope, is it time to look? And I know the commissioner wants to have these centers where you make these events. You can do all kinds of things for the tournament. You can do, but if your goal is to have a place where people can celebrate HBCUs and SWAC basketball, it's time to start thinking of somewhere other than Birmingham, Alabama, because that ain't it.
The other problem, Brian.
I've seen it two years in a row. Yes. What's the other problem?
Have you ever tried to fly to Birmingham?
Okay, so that's another issue.
It's not that it's a bad airport but you can't find reasonably priced flight options into a Birmingham.
Right.
Especially if you're not sure that your team is going to be playing on a Friday or a Saturday. You could always find a decent flight into Atlanta. You could always find a decent flight into Houston. You could always find a decent flight into Dallas.
If you're going into that, let's just say I'm going to speak as a Florida A&M grad here in Orlando, right? Living in Orlando. If by chance when Florida A&M got to the tournament, right, they played on a Wednesday, you're almost booking a 3-night stay probably, in your flight. You're not leaving out until Saturday night, probably, if you're lucky, maybe Sunday.
Or Sunday morning.
Right. Or Sunday morning, right? So you're just going to have to go and enjoy a weekend. But then I'm left saying, if I go up to Birmingham, Alabama, and we get knocked out in the first round, guess what the team is going to do? The team is going home. They're not staying extra days. They're getting on a plane or a bus, and they're out of there. Guess what this guy has to do? This guy has to either spend all day in Bartow Arena watching basketball, which I can be perfectly fine with, but at night, where am I going to go? In the evening, where can I go to go hang out in Birmingham? I don't know. I'm not.
Here's the question, Brian. You in Birmingham. How many people can you scroll through your phone and say, "Hey, I'm in Birmingham. Let's hang out. I'm in Birmingham. You want to catch a drink, or something like that?" How many people can you go through your Rolodex of people and say that in Birmingham? Not a whole lot, right?
You're right.
Now, when you go to Atlanta, how many people can you just shoot a text to or call and say, hey, I'm gonna be in town next couple of days, man. Want to hook up, hang out, catch a drink, we get off work, blah blah blah. You can go through and find somebody when you're in Atlanta, correct?
Probably.
You can go through and find somebody when you're in the Houston area. You can go through and find somebody when you're in the Dallas area.
How about New Orleans?
And certain other cities. You can go through and find somebody in New Orleans, Chicago,
I don't know anybody in New Orleans, but anyway. Still, New Orleans, I'd rather go to New Orleans. I'd rather go.
Right. But even coming out of your area, there are people, no matter what institution you're associated with down in that Central Florida area, who live in the Orlando area, who live in the Miami area. That when you wind up in that situation, you could pick up the phone and call somebody or shoot a text to somebody. These are some of the things that may go into the mind of people as they make these travel plans. And the SWAC tournament is not a destination type event. The CIAA
because of the city. Because of the city. The the city, Drew. It's the city. The city is not a destination city. Don't say it's the
Right.
event. I disagree
Wait,
with you about it
but
being the
even still,
event.
the CIAA has changed cities and happened to maintain the culture after changing cities after 15 years in Charlotte. They just picked
Baltimore's
it
a
up.
nice city.
I'm just saying, but you have to realize it had to be hard to move that from Charlotte to Baltimore. Two totally different cultures, Baltimore to Charlotte.
Yeah, true.
But the aura of the tournament, the essence of the tournament stayed the same in both cities.
Yes.
Why is that?
Yes, and they moved it to one big city with and you talked about the airplane, the airports. You have no trouble getting into Charlotte. You have no trouble getting into Baltimore. You have
Right.
sites. You have some sites in Charlotte. You have sites and great seafood in Baltimore. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff in Baltimore. So I get what you're saying. Two different cultures, but that's a question that the SWAC is going to have to answer. The MEAC seems to be in a good place in Norfolk for them.
And,
Now, I think the MEAC,
SIAC is in the same, if not a worse position than the SWAC.
yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. They are. But guess what? Guess what's in the SIAC's footprint though? Guess what major city is?
That would be Atlanta.
Atlanta. Yes, that is a
And
major.
if the SIAC could figure out how to do Atlanta well for the basketball tournament, because I've been in Atlanta for SIAC basketball tournaments, and some of those were logistical nightmares, Brian. Just to be honest with you, I love Morehouse. I love that arena, but inside the arena everything was fine. But that many people on Morehouse's campuses with the buses and the cars and the parking situation around Morehouse. Morehouse is not the site. Atlanta is the place, but Morehouse is not the site. And I'm sorry for all those Maroon Tigers out there. It's just tough logistically to host things on Morehouse and Clark's campus. Just being real because of how tight everything is there. Now, if they could get the SIAC out at the G League Arena, which is right there at the airport in Atlanta, you don't even have to leave the airport.
Oh,
if
yeah,
they can get into the G League Arena, it's right there. There are hotels at the airport.
True.
Now, if you go into it, be prepared to pay for some parking because parking is gonna whoop you know what. But if you flying in, you don't need a rental car. You don't need nothing else because you're right there at the airport. Everything is right there at the airport, Brian. Just throwing that out there.
And I don't,
you know,
I see other tournaments hosting on campuses, and I look at the enthusiasm. I'll tell you that the best places that I've seen. Now, obviously, there are schools from big conferences to mid majors that have theirs in Las Vegas. Now, because Las Vegas they have hotel ballrooms that they can turn into arenas, and so it ends up working out. And who doesn't want to go to Vegas? Like, it's like every conference on the West Coast is running to Vegas. That's harder to do in the South, is it? Could you possibly? I don't know. You historians tell me. I know. I saw Doc in there in the chat. When's the last time the SWAC had their tournament in New Orleans? If it's not the city, then it's so much about the fan base and saying where can your fan base go and not only have a good time in the arena but outside of the arena, and that's the challenge. I think there's a lot of challenges for the SWAC. I don't know if I would hate I'm just going to be just me, my opinion for now. I mean, obviously I get more information. I would love to learn more. But for right now, Birmingham, I haven't been. So I'm going to preface that by saying in the 2 years of being a part of the SWAC, I have not been to Birmingham for the basketball tournament. So I'm going to say that in all, transparency. But looking at it on TV, it doesn't have the excitement that it deserves. Period.
And Bryan, here's the
Yeah.
problem with your campus analogy.
Idea. Right.
Idea. Number one, it's spring break time usually when these tournaments happen. SIAC tournament, SWAC tournament. So if you're going to do it on a campus site, number one, you got to pick somebody who's actually in school during the week of the tournament, or not out of school the week prior to the tournament so they can do the preparation. Number one. Number two, it's going to be tough to get students just to come on GP to somebody else's campus. I'm on spring break. I don't want to be on my own campus. Why the hell I want to go to somebody else's campus while I'm on spring break? So you really marketed to alumni and parents. And you need to market it to destination cities, Bryan. You know, campuses are cool when you're trying to save $1 or $2. But if you're really trying to put on a quality tournament, no offense to anybody's campus out there, it's tough to sell, especially if you try to get the students to come and support. It's tough to sell me going to somebody else's campus, or tough for me to stay around and hang out during my spring break on this campus that I'm really trying to get away from for a week. Let's go to break, Bryan.
Idea, and just sit out there during the break. And this goes back to a thought that I've had a few years back. Imagine, and this goes back to my theory about not playing a postseason tournament who goes to the NCAA. But what if you had after
Hey Bryan, you start the buffer. We go get this. Bryan, let's do this. You're starting to buffer there. Let's get your thought on the other side. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and AD. We'll be back in just a moment.
For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster. absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No! 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment!
Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
We are making the virtual HBCU experience available wherever you live through Stillman Online. We offer online degrees in business, criminal justice, psychology, and religion. Stillman also offers technology badges in cybersecurity and data analytics. You can participate in all student activities, fraternities and sororities, internships, graduation ceremonies, and much more. Apply for admission today at stillman.edu. Stillman College, where we prepare you for a different world.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan and AD here. Sorry about my little technical issues earlier. Hopefully, as I switched Wi-Fi connections, they are a little bit better. I'll get back to the point I was making earlier, Drew, real quick. I think the SWAC, and this, the SWAC, I think the SWAC would be a perfect candidate to try a mid-season tournament and take away the need to have an end-of-the-year postseason tournament just to appease the television contracts. Maybe they can do it after the television contract. But anyway, to base it on the regular season. So the team with the regular season best record goes. Now, why do a mid-season tournament? Would serve 2 purposes. One, it'd be a celebration of SWAC basketball somewhere. You could do it around President's Day weekend. Okay, follow me here. President's Day weekend, where you could catch hold of a Friday, Saturday, maybe even playing on a Sunday, and then maybe a championship on Monday. Okay. What it would also give you is, coming out of the tournament, you would have a good look to see, based on the standings, what the second half race to the championship is going to look like. You know, teams get a chance to kind of see each other, and you get a chance to figure out who's going to make a dash in the final 9 games of the regular season. What do you think of that idea, Drew?
I like the idea that you are trying to do something over the President's Day weekend, but Bryan, I don't think anybody's going to buy it. That's the problem.
What are the obstacles? What obstacles do you foresee?
What if that's the case? What happens when you get a situation like the Jackson State women, then, who will wrap up the regular season with 4 games to go? Now the rest of the season is like blah.
Well, I mean, you still got to play the games. I mean, they're already blown.
Right.
I mean, what do you want? Your argument is just because Jackson State clinched the outright, we still had to wait to see, but whether they made it to the tournament. But again, isn't that counter? Again, what's the purpose of sending a team to the tournament? You want to send your best. I keep going back to that. Look, I've heard Dr. McClellan say on multiple shows. I heard a great interview he did with Charles Edmond before the tournament. If he could ever get, and he didn't say it, but I'm going to say it. If he could get his knuckleheaded athletic directors to realize to stop scheduling as poorly as they're scheduling, and they would listen to him. He's trying to them how to improve your rating so that, guess what? We don't end up with an 0-10 preseason or non-conference, which then puts you in a deficit when you go and have a 15-3 conference season. He's trying to tell them, but I get it. Resources, money, they ain't listening. Some of them aren't listening. But he's on the committee. He's telling them the formula. It's like having the cheat code, Drew, and not using it. The man is telling you how you can improve your program, improve your rating, so that we all can improve and get out of 29, 29, 31, 32 lines, conference RPI. He's trying to tell 12 schools that ain't listening. He's trying to tell
Bryan,
12 athletic directors who aren't listening. Maybe one or two, but overall,
you can tell them what you
they
want
aren't
to.
listening.
You can tell them what you want to, and they probably agree with them. But when their president or the director of finance says that you've got to bring in X amount of dollars,
oh my God,
it's still a business, Bryan.
I get it. Let's talk about 2 quick things here related to the NCAA tournament, Drew. First off, AD and I are hosting a NCAA bracket contest. If you go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/BCSN SportsWrap, you will see a tournament that we are hosting via the CBS platform, CBS Sports platform. We're hosting a bracket contest. We want to challenge. Hey, we want to challenge other shows, other podcasts, other fans, other media, our listeners. We want to challenge all of you to jump into our pool. And here's what we're going to do. Now, we've set up a $10 entry fee, and the instructions on how to take care of the entry fee are there. But here's what we're going to do with that entry fee. 50%, half of the winnings, half of the pot is going to go to the winner's HBCU athletic department or a designated HBCU athletic program of their choice. So let's just say if somehow Drew wins the contest and we have a big pot because we got 60 people in it, half of that money is going to go right to, I don't know. He may send half to Tuskegee, half to Florida A&M. I don't know where he'll send them, but let's just say he sends it to one school. And let's just say he go to football. We're sending that in a donation to football. So half of the money going there. Then we've also got another portion going to the winners. We're going to take care of the winners with some agents.
Right. If our producer could open up the link that I just sent her, I was trying to put it in the chat feature, but the chat feature would not let me put it in there. So if she could open that up on the screen to let everybody see that, I hope she's listening to
People,
us
for
and
those of
is able to copy
if
that
you're
link
listening
and
to this
open it up in the browser on the screen.
Yeah, if you're listening to us in a podcast format, so the best thing you want to do is you want to go check out our Facebook page, go to BCSN SportsWrap. You'll see the link there to sign up for our March Madness Challenge. And again, for the winners, whether it be one winner, we're hoping that we can have multiple winners, or one winner. We're going to get you some HBCU gear from, there are a couple of different manufacturers of HBCU gear that we work with or know, and so we want to, if your school, you want to get some
HBCU gear.
License, yes, license HBCU gear. Thank you. License gear. So we're going to supply, whether it be a card or we're going to, actually get it for you. We're going to work that out. So again, the tournament starts on Thursday. So you have until Thursday to sign up on cbssports.com, join our pool. The password to join our contest is BCSN25. That's
It's in your
BCSN
email,
25.
Bill.
Yeah, so that's the I don't, did you put it in the chat rooms, Drew?
The link is too long to fit in the YouTube chat. Too many characters.
Okay, we should have done a little. We should have been a little, but that's why I said go to facebook.com, BCSN SportsWrap. We'll post it out a little bit more on our social media pages, on Instagram and Twitter, and on at MyBCSN1, the number one. And so, Nat'l, other shows, other podcasts, you guys are out there watching.
I've called it out to Sports Lab, Dr. Cavill, Charles, Mike. I'm calling out HBCU Nightly.
Okay.
That's Josh.
Nice.
Bill, if you can listen, just copy that into the browser feature on the software and then overlay that. Trying to do two things at once. I'm calling out the Carlos Brown show. And I'm calling out my brothers from G Strike Zone. There it is.
All right, so the SportsWrap March Madness contest. There it is right there. Standard scoring will apply based on first round, second round, Sweet 16, Elite 8, so on and so forth. Again, you get a max of 2 brackets that you can submit. Again, it's a $10 entry fee. You can do 2 things with your entry fee. You can send your entry fee via Cash App to $JBN, MyBCSN, and make sure you include what your bracket name or names are. That way we can attribute, your entry fee with your bracket name. Or there's a Square link as well. So you can go to a more web-based Square link and you can make the pay the entry fee there. Okay, and again, it tells
Edward
you.
Moore. Oh. Go ahead, Brian. I thought you were done.
What now?
I
was just going to say the last part about the payouts again, but I already said that. So yeah, that's what it looks like. But the link, again, go to facebook.com, facebook.com BCSN SportsWrap. That's where you can find it. We'll tweet it out a little bit later here in the show, and we'll put it up on our Facebook feed. Okay.
Edward Moore, I'm calling out Carlos Brown to make sure he gets his entry in before the deadline so that he can talk about it on his show. Is what I'm doing, Edwin. And if you're a fan of the Carlos Brown show, I'm calling you out too, Edwin Moore. Lawrence, David Garner, Karen Griffin. Who else is here in this chat room right here? See, Dr. Cavill is in here. Lawrence, Psychedelic Literature. I'm calling all y'all out. EA, Tamara T. Come on, let's see who's the best at this. I'm calling out HBCU Game Day, Brian. See if they want to join this challenge with us.
There you go.
I'm calling
from
HBCU I'm calling out
Sports Media
the whole association.
The whole association. Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yes, indeed,
I'll
indeed.
call it out. Trevor Jones, Urban Media Today.
Howard man. Well, actually, he's a Norfolk State
Yeah.
guy. That had to be a hard beat for him as a Norfolk State alum who works for and calls games for Howard. That had to be a tough day for Trevin. A happy day, but probably a tough day all at the same.
Yeah. Calling everybody out. Let's
Okay.
see who
One
has
other
the
thing,
best
Drew. You
bracket.
said you know the brackets. You know the brackets. Let's talk the brackets. Where are the men teams going? I think right now I see them doing the women's bracket. So where are the men's teams going? I know Texas Southern is playing in the first four, correct?
Fairleigh Dickinson, and that will be in Dayton, Ohio.
What day?
That's
Because
Tuesday.
there's 2 days.
Doesn't
Tuesday and
right
Wednesday
now
are
the
those
bracket
first
doesn't
four.
specify whether that's on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay. So that's an opportunity. And
And
if I'm not mistaken,
how?
hold on, wait. Hasn't Texas Southern won in the first four each of the last 2 seasons?
I believe HBCUs have won in the first four the last 3 times that they have played in the first four. We haven't
But I
lost the
mean,
first four
Texas
game in a
Southern.
while. Yes,
Texas
but Texas
Southern,
Southern
though,
has been one of those
specifically,
teams in the first four.
the last 2 years they have won.
I believe so. And we can
Okay.
get
All right.
Dr.
All right. What
Kadir
was your
to confirm that. And Howard
all
plays
right?
number 1 Kansas.
Hmm.
And on the
Interesting.
women's side,
Kansas, who lost by
go ahead.
20 in the championship game to Texas, and are without their head coach, Bill Self. So that is interesting to see, what kind of effect that will have on the defending champs. Oh, no, is Kansas the defending champs? Yeah, Kansas is the defending. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So,
the women's bracket has come out, partially come out. Norfolk is a 16 seed taking on South Carolina. So we're just waiting to see
yikes.
where Southern goes. Maybe we'll get that before this
Ooh.
show is over with, Brian.
I wouldn't be surprised if Southern is in the
Not yet,
first
Dale.
four. I wouldn't be surprised if Southern is in the top first four.
In the first four, yeah. They haven't released those yet. So I'll be monitoring that as we go through our ranking.
Okay. Top fives. New top five for the men. Now, these are not final. This is just one more week. We're getting closer to the final, though. So it'll be hard to see too many things change from this. This is the men, the NCAA men, and the number one team, despite, they did win. They went 2-1 over the weekend. So, we got to give them credit for that. Grambling State comes in at number one. They were number one last week. They did go 2-1. They got to the championship game, co-regular season champ. I'm nervous about where Grambling State could end up. They don't end up in the NIT. They could be playing in like the CIT or something like that.
There is no CIT this year, Brian.
Wow. So is there another postseason outside of
Nope.
the NIT?
Not to my knowledge.
This is a very controversial top five, Drew. We've got all right, number 2 is Howard, the winners of the MEAC in the regular season and the MEAC tournament. Taking on a tough Kansas team as a 16 seed in the tournament. Alcorn State drops. They are number 3. Alcorn State has they got the automatic qualifier to the NIT. They won the tiebreaker over Grambling State, which gives them the automatic tiebreaker, and so they get a chance to go to the NIT, which is where they went last year. Norfolk State. It'll be interesting to see, will Norfolk State get an opportunity to continue their season in the NIT? That's no guarantees. By the NIT bracketology people, they did not have Norfolk State in. That's just NIT
Grambling gets in
bracketology
before
numbers.
Norfolk
I don't.
State, Brian.
That are you guessing that, or are you predicting that?
Yes, I'm guessing. If there's one or the other, I'm saying Grambling State will get in before Norfolk.
Yeah, they should. Grambling has the higher rating. Grambling has the higher rating, so they should. But I got a feeling I got a feeling there's going to be some tears. Both of them may end up missing out. And then of course Texas Southern comes in at number 5, unranked, but due to winning 3 games in the SWAC tournament, puts them in at number 5. Drew, this is going to be probably the most controversial This is going to be the most controversial top 5 in some years. I got a feeling, just a guess. But there's still time. We'll see what the final week or two has to say. All right, let's go over to, I believe, the women, correct?
Yes. Should be the women.
All right. Okay, the women, top 5. Uh-oh. I'm going to have a few people that are going to be upset about this, but they shouldn't be. Because Jackson State, who last week was number 1, that's incorrect. Last week they were number 2. Technically, Jackson State was number 1.
Yeah, Jackson State was number 1 last week.
Yes,
the only week.
For the one time, the only week they were number 1 was last week. But obviously, they went 1-1 in the SWAC. Norfolk State went 3-0 in the MEAC, winning the MEAC conference tournament, and so that's number 1. Morgan State. I saw you post that Morgan State might end up in the NIT. That's an opportunity to see whether they end up in the women's NIT. Jackson State qualified already for the women's NIT. Will Morgan State get an opportunity? North Carolina A&T State finishes at number 4. Southern enters the top 5. They will go to the NCAA. Most likely, Drew, I'm guessing, but they will probably be a first 4 team. Just guessing.
Hey, Brian.
The women, yeah.
Does A&T have an opportunity to get to the NIT? Until they fell off the wagon the last 2 weeks of the season, they were having a pretty good season there, Brian.
You know what? It's possible. The Colonial, the CAA is rated higher than the MEAC and SWAC, and that's one of the things that we have to remember, and that's one of the reasons let somebody tell it. That's probably one of the reasons why they moved. I mean, among other things, but that's sort of the advantage of moving to the CAA is that you get that opportunity to be in a higher rated conference. So I believe they finished 3rd in the regular season in the CAA.
4th. They wound up 4th.
4th, okay. And then they lost their first game. So that may put them on the bubble and may hurt their chances of getting into the women's NIT.
Yeah. Dr. Bill said Texas Southern has won the last 2 first 4 games they have participated in.
Right.
Yeah. Also, AW says there's no way Grambling is better than Howard. I don't know about that one. I think that would be a good matchup. I don't know. Howard has some Power 5 wins this season to back up that argument there, AW. So just want to throw that out there to you, my brother.
I think those are probably 2 very comparable teams. Again, go look at the metrics, the numbers, the ratings, the ratings by the computers, the RPI, the net, all of this stuff says that Grambling has the better rating. Again, these are ratings, necessarily a poll. Now, in a poll may actually have Howard as number. If I were a poll voter in anybody's poll that does basketball, I might vote Howard number 1. I'll be honest, because I got 2 equal teams, I might, by my own eye, might go ahead and take the team that advanced and the other team didn't do. Both teams were in the game. Howard won, Grambling lost. But that's not what the computer sees. The computer sees numbers, and sees strength of schedule, wins, and things like that. You go look it up. All this stuff is out there. Go look at Ken Palm. Go look at the net rating. Go look at RPI. Grambling's been well ahead of Howard pretty much all season. So just putting it is what it is. Any other basketball? Again, we want to encourage you guys, go to facebook.com BCSN SportsWrap. Go take a look at our March Madness contest. Be a part of it. We need you. We want you to be a part of it and help bring some money to somebody's favorite athletic department or team. What were you going to say, Drew?
I would say half of the bracket has been released on the women's side, and Southern has not appeared as of yet. So, still waiting to see where Southern is going to go.
Real quick, I want to mention Division II. Division II took place this past week. As of right now, we had 3 schools on the men, 3 on the women. All 3 women's teams, unfortunately, took some losses, bad losses. Actually, not bad losses. Tuskegee lost to the number 1 ranked team, one of the probably top 2 teams in the Division II, Tampa, who's also a host school. Elizabeth City State lost to the defending champs, who are also probably either 1 or 2 top ranked team in Division II and a host school. They lost to them by 20. West Virginia State, who was I believe a 4 or a 5 seed.
Not yet, Bill.
Are we showing those? Are we going through those? I thought we weren't.
No, we shouldn't be going through those. I just saw a graphic pop up. I didn't see which one of them it was.
Yeah, it was Division II women. Okay. Where was I at? West Virginia State lost by 4 to Shippensburg. 4-5 matchup. West Virginia State loses by 4, 87-83. So that was only close contest of the 3. So congrats on a great season by Tuskegee, Elizabeth City State, and West Virginia State. All seasons come to a close. On the men's side, Miles College lost to Nova Southeastern, a host school, 97-55. What did you say the turnovers were in that game, Drew, by Miles?
I know Miles had 20 at the half. I don't know what the final tally was, but they had 20 at the half.
Yikes. That's like some teams' whole game over 2 games, but 20 and a half. Good Lord. The other side, though, was a little tighter. Winston-Salem State lost to the number 1 host school, Indiana of Pennsylvania, 52-50. And I believe that was a last-second shot, or almost a close to last-second shot.
Yes, it was a buzzer beater.
So a buzzer beater knocked off Winston-Salem State. Virginia Union managed to hold off. Virginia Union was a seed. Virginia Union, the Panthers, 4 seed. They beat 5 seed Fairmont State 66-64. They are actually playing their second round game
stand.
right. Yeah. They're actually playing theirs tonight, Drew.
And they are down 3 at the half to Indiana, PA. Indiana University of Pennsylvania, 27-30 at the half. Virginia Union is down.
The host school. Yeah. So let's go, Virginia Union.
And did you mention the Tuskegee score? Did you mention Tuskegee?
I didn't. I think they lost by. Yeah. No, I didn't. I forgot about Tuskegee men. I'm sorry. What was their score?
They lost by 7, I do believe. Now, if you wouldn't have asked me, I would have known what their final score was. Hold up, I've got the page pulled up right
I
here.
forgot that there were 4 men's. I thought it was 3 and 3 for
70 60 64 to West Alabama.
Right. Okay.
So Tuskegee, along with Philander Smith, were the only 2 mid-majors to have both their men and their women participating in postseason play.
All right. We will release the final NAIA and Division II rankings along with the Division I probably in a couple of weeks. So we won't do any more release of the rankings until it's final and we declare our Black College National Champion.
But Bryan,
that
we do
about
have
right?
some more polls we want to release tonight.
Exactly. Guys, look, we are moving into spring season. And look, it's time for us to start transitioning over into some of our spring sports. And Drew and I are both fans of baseball and softball. So you are about to witness the debut of the BCSN top 5. Yes, top 5. Top
Rankings
5
for 2023.
rankings for 2023, Division 1 and non-Division 1. And the way we've broken this up, we basically, similar to what we do in football, we have a Division 1, which consists of, Division 1 schools. And then the non-Division 1 is made up of Division 2 IA schools. And so we have, we're doing the same way for softball.
And I want
And we're doing,
NCAA schools.
okay.
In pain.
So we got softball and baseball. So these are debuts. And these are, again, rankings, computer metric, computer tabulated, no people involved other than Drew, who does the hand computations with his calculator. All right. So, Drew, which one are we going to debut first? Producer Mel, you tell us what we have first.
Let's go softball first.
All right, let's see if that's the one that she pulls up first. All right, so we're gonna debut our softball poll. So obviously, going forward, I know a lot of conference play will begin. So you're gonna start to hear us talk a little bit more about some softball and give the softball team some love here as we go. As our producer ends up pulling that up, we're gonna be closing out. Okay, so our softball ratings. So our debut at number 5. Now you got to tell me because I got to know where these. For example, Norfolk State is the MEAC still playing softball? MEAC still playing softball?
That wasn't a. Yeah, MEAC plays softball. That conference record is incorrect for Norfolk. Yes.
Okay, they got rid of baseball, so that's what that's why I asked that. So, and then we got to get a new logo. This. So we got this is a bad start here. All right, so we're working on these. So you gotta.
Norfolk is actually 0-0 in conference when you get to that portion, Bryan.
All right, so we'll look away. Don't look in the top right corner and don't look at everything else. But here's the top 5. We got to fix that, Drew, before I post this out on social media. We got to get the new logo for softball. That was the first thing I saw, not the record. So, all right, Norfolk State comes in at number 5. Overall record of 7-7. Grambling State comes in at 14-8-1. A great video I've seen floating around of Grambling State and a very active dugout. Let's just put it like that. Very active dugout. They're at number 4. Florida A&M. The Rattlers come in at number 3. Shout out to Coach Patterson. They swept Jackson State at home. I never miss a moment to say Rattlers sweep Jackson State at home. Always feels good to say that. Saturday night with a walk-off homer, and then today with a single to winning single. So shout out to the Lady Rattlers. Alabama comes in at number 2, 12-9 record, and in Tennessee State Tigers come in with a record of 10-10-1. And so that's the softball ratings, the debut of the softball ratings. Now, how about our baseball? Softball. That's Division One. There's the non-Division One. I forgot about. Listen.
Correct.
All right, so producers got to pull that one up. The non-Division One for softball, which also includes NAIA. In the hunt, a few more teams. You got Bowie, Claflin, and Lane. Pretty good records there by Stillman and Lane when you just look at their overall record. Hold on, not finished, Madam Producer. And put that graphic back up there so I can make sure to read that. All right. Number 5 is Kentucky State with a record of 7-9. Miles comes in at number 4 with a record of 9-7. Tuskegee comes in 8-10. Edward Waters having a good overall season, 15-4, and our number 1 softball team right now is Albany State, 14-7. All right, pretty good, pretty good. All right, let's take a look at baseball now. Again, it's the debut of some new top 5 rankings for softball, and then we've got baseball here coming up here. So as our producer makes that that transition over from softball to baseball with our graphics. And this is men. And again, well, which one are we doing? Well, we'll figure it out here in just a second. If you're watching it, obviously you're seeing it, but we'll talk about it a little more here in
wrong
I
one.
don't
You
know
had
what
it
that
right
is. It's
first
basketball.
time. There we go.
Yeah, I think what throws it off is obviously the logo, Drew, which
The basketball logo,
which
yeah.
our intern, our graphics intern, put the wrong logo up in the top right corner at the top with the dock them a pay. In the hunt for baseball, we've got
How
a
you dock
Florida
0,
A&M
Brian?
and Arkansas Pine Bluff. What'd you say?
How you dock 0, Brian?
I know. In the hunt, Florida A&M, Arkansas Pine Bluff in the hunt. Number 5 is Texas Southern. They have a 10-6 record overall. Number 4 is Bethune-Cookman with a record of 8-8. Number 3, Alabama State with a record of 10-8. Number 2 is North Carolina A&T. Interesting, 8-7 overall. And then number 1, Jackson State. Overall 11-2 right now. So what's interesting about that, I see 3 teams from the SWAC East Division, and then the 4th from the SWAC East in the hunt. So I'm telling you, the SWAC East should be a good baseball season. Probably starting up next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at the non-D1. The non-D1, we've got in the hunt for baseball, Edward Waters, Kentucky State, and Jarvis Christian. Number 5 is Florida Memorial with a 9-6 record. Slightly ahead of them at number 4 is Miles College at 9-9. Savannah State comes in at number 3 with a 10-5 record. Number 2 is Talladega, 12-9-1. And then the number 1 team, according to our ratings, Albany State Rams, 13-3. So Albany State coming in with the number 1 softball and the number 1 baseball team. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. We'll see how long that last. All right, so all of that information we'll update and get that information out on social media. And again, March Madness is here, so we want to encourage you to go be a part of our contest again. You do have to
Speaking of
sign up
March
with
Madness,
CBS
Bryan,
Sports and create an account.
Southern is in the first four. They are against SHU. Trying to see who that is right quick.
Sam Houston.
Say it again. Sacred Heart.
What was the abbreviation?
They
Sacred
play
Heart.
Sacred
Okay.
Heart. Yes, and then the winner will go on to play number 1 Stanford.
Okay. Well, yeah, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. So later tonight, the NIT brackets will come out, and that's where we'll find out more about Jackson State women. We'll also find out about, Alcorn men, and then we'll find out if anybody else makes it. There are some possible candidates, but I don't know. Bracketology doesn't seem to predict that we'll see Grambling or any of those other schools in. So let's keep your fingers crossed and your prayers up for those schools. Any final thoughts, Drew, as we close down the show?
No, just make sure you stay tuned to Dr. Cavill on Tuesday night, because I'm pretty sure he's going to have a breakdown of Texas Southern in their first 4 games. If Dr. Cavill himself is not there, and Bryan, we forgot to show our famous doctor in the photo bomb that he did, my brother.
Oh, come on, you can't call it a photo bomb. He's entrenched in the culture
He was
of
there.
Texas Southern.
He was there.
He's there.
He was there.
He's a professor.
But
yes,
considering Dr. Cavill is out there with those trees at 6'6", 6'8", you barely could see him. If it wasn't for the hair, I would have never noticed him. You know, when you out there amongst all those trees out there. Yeah, but no,
well,
congratulations.
That caught my attention when I looked off.
I'm pretty sure Dr. Cavill is going to be in Dayton, Ohio once again. I know he's made the last couple of trips with the Tigers there. So probably going to be live from Dayton on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Tuesday. And that's just great. And having been a part of these type of tournaments, it's just great when you see these tournaments, because ultimately the experience that these kids get being on these trips, the bonding that goes on, win or lose, is priceless. It is priceless, Bryan, to be a part of events such as that. So just shout out to those. Let's hope our other teams get as many opportunities as they can to continue in the NIT. And update from the Virginia Union game before we get off of here. And of course, my computer starts buffering when I go to look for the update of the Virginia Union game. Go ahead and do your lead out. I'll give you an update after that lead out. Maybe my computer will catch up by then.
Well, I was going to ask you as we close. Did you have you paid attention to college basketball in general, or do you kind of spend these next 2 to 3 days doing your research and analysis before Thursday?
I honestly, I've been so enamored in HBCU land, HBCU basketball. I really could not tell you what's going on with the Power Fives.
Sure.
I really can't tell you anything was going on. The only reason I know about what's going on at the University of Alabama is because of the unfortunate situation that happened at Alabama a few weeks ago with the incident with the young man being charged with murder. Only reason I know something about Kansas right now is because Bill Self is out with Kansas. You know, I know a few nuggets here and there, but who the key players are on these teams, what style they play. No, I could much rather tell you about Texas Southern or a Howard or a Tuskegee or a Miles or one of those teams than I can about the number one. Than I can about a Stanford or a Butler or anybody else. I do know Patrick Ewing got fired.
Two schools. It's funny that you mentioned those two schools. They are. I'll tell you what. They are not in the tournament. So let me save you a trip there. Those two schools, Stanford and Butler, are not in the NCAA tournament. I can. Not on the
Stanford
men's
is
side,
on the
at
women's
least.
side. They're number one on the women's side. Update: Union is down 42-32, 12-27 remain in the second.
All right. Well, let's get off of here and let's go watch a little bit of that game. Again, follow us on social media, not only for links to our contest, but we'll also be updating information and send you out information that's going to maybe help you make good decisions in our contest. Again, this is all in fun, but again, we are going to raise some money for some athletic department or athletic program. So follow Drew on Twitter at BCSN Drew, DREW. You can also find me on Twitter at DRB365. Drew, final thought?
Before you get out of here, Bryan, a couple people have asked me, they have put it in the chat. You can go to the Virginia Union page and click on basketball and click on their schedule, and there's a link to the game directly on there. It'll be easier for you to find it on that page than to find it on the actual site that it is. So go to VUU Athletics. Let's see, VUUsports.com. Click on men's basketball and click on the schedule. Scroll down to the bottom and click on the watch link, and you'll be able to watch the remainder of the game right there for those of you all who are interested in watching Virginia Union as they trail 43-32, approaching 12 minutes remaining in the second half.
All right. So don't forget, March Madness is here. The Oscars are on tonight. So I know if you're someone like our producer, she's ready to get off of here so she can go watch the Oscars. Good luck to all of you who are going to go that route. For the rest of us, we're going to be up writing the information down on our brackets. Drew, I'm going to just shut up and let you close the show.
No, I'm trying to get these last.
Second time you enter, we're trying to get out of here.
I'm trying to get these last comments.
I'm going to keep talking.
No,
I'm
going through the chat. I'm going through the chat.
I'm
going through the chat.
You keep going through the chat. I'm about to log off and go watch some of these brackets. Go ahead,
Bryan. Somebody wants to know what the login information for the bracket challenge. I figured that was important to get out once again before we get out of here.
Yes, again, let me remind everybody. Go to Facebook.com, BCSN SportsWrap. And that's where you can log in. The password is BCSN25. Put that in there, Drew, since we can't put in there. BCSN25. 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 All capitals on the BCSN. That's the password. So when you go to the link on our Facebook page, facebook.com/BCSN SportsWrap. That's our Facebook page. And you can you'll see the link there to join our contest, and then you can join. Just password CSN25. That's what you need to join. We'll make sure to retweet that as well. We appreciate all of you guys for coming in and joining us. Don't forget the entry fee is $10. Thank you to our producer Mel. Thank you to head coach Chris Wright, Langston University. Tuesday night playing in the Final 16. Tougaloo plays on Monday night, just as a note as well. So let's make sure we support our HBCUs that are still playing basketball this week. And who knows, maybe they'll be playing a little bit longer. Thank you to everybody. Congratulations to winners, to all the fan bases. And we'll pick up the conversation and talk a little more later on in the week. For AD Drew, I'm Bryan Fulford. Be safe, be smart. Peace out.
But you stay hard.